Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about Green Lantern issue 17 by Jeremy Adams, Zermanico, and Romulo Fajardo Jr. Civil Core continues as Varon demands the Durlans research on the Source Lantern, wanting access to the Teen Lantern, Kelly, whom they are using in their experiments in the emotional spectrum. Like we've seen in previous issues, the Durlans don't trust both Tharos and Varon, and Tharos was actually left to be murdered by these guys, however they don't realize that he's actually still alive. The Durlans want to turn on these guys by using the Unseen to fix all of this and regain control of the Green Lantern Corps themselves. The Durlans aren't in the issue all that much, and there's a good reason which we'll get to a little later on, but I like that the Lanterns have an enemy who are kind of just more or less goons. They're just like normal guys who just want power and to rule their planet and the United Planets. They're a political enemy, and there are the more traditional big bads of the series. We got Tharos and Varon themselves, as well as Mogo, but I like that there is that extra villain there that's a little bit more different than what we usually get with a Green Lantern event. The Unseen, meanwhile, are busy torturing Jessica Cruz, trying to coax the location of the Resistance out of her, but the Lantern will not yield. Adams utilizes Cruz's anxiety in a really interesting way, as her worrying that she would be found out as part of the Resistance is what actually alerted the Unseen to her, but then her will and strength prevented her from actually cracking under their pressure. And I think that's something that people often forget about Jessica, mainly because she's not really used all that much anymore, but she suffers from PTSD and anxiety, and often that can get the better of her in times of pressure, and I like that they've built on her character over the years, and here it's kind of culminated with her not cracking under the pressure of the villain. The Unseen leave to do the Durlan's biddings, while Jessica is left in the hands of the Yellow Lantern Kilowog, who continues her torture, and we have to have some answers coming about Kilowog coming soon, since it's too big of a thing to just kind of gloss over that, oh, Kilowog's back alive and he's a Yellow Lantern, especially after Adams put so much emphasis on the fact that killing him is what kind of drove Hal fully away from the Green Lantern Corps and made him, return to Earth and everything. So I'm intrigued to see that sort of play out, and like, what exactly happened here? Was he just brought back to life? Is it Kilowog? Is it just something that maybe is an illusion that's playing on the fears of people like Hal? Very interesting ways you can go with this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Adams does with it. The Resistance, meanwhile, have taken refuge amongst the dead in the Crypt of Oa, and thanks to the power battery on Earth, Guy is able to gift all of his friends their new rings that are cut off from the control of the Durlans and Varos. While he fills them in on what Hal and John are doing by finding reinforcements, Joe thinks that they can wait for the cavalry to arrive, but Ellie, John's sister construct, arrives and tells them of the Teen Lantern and how they need to help her and get off Oa right now. Sorting out the team with the new rings is quite a good move. It removes the classic trope of, the heroes being so far on the back foot against the enemy, or one of their ranks turning on them thanks to the corrupted rings. I could definitely see that being a thing, like Guy's ring, is activated and he becomes evil and they gotta fight him or something. And I like that it just completely removes that story trope from the plot. The Lanterns also gathering together to rescue the Teen Lantern, the most recent human Lantern, is also really a great use of Kelly, as it's almost kind of like a rite of passage that older human Lanterns, or the Lanterns that are around Earth, rescue or aid the newer human Lantern, and this is a long time coming that she actually get involved in these type of events. So I really like that. I really like that there's that sort of flow with like all these older experienced Lanterns teaming with a newer generation with people like Joe and that guy Shepard, and then also helping the newest generation in Kelly. While the Lanterns set out on a rescue mission, Tharos is fully reborn thanks to his Darkstar ring, which allows him to bend emotions to his will and give him total control over Mogo, who last issue became a Red Lantern. Tharos orders his new monster to destroy the Green Lantern Corps and Oa, as in the science cells on Oa, Varon blasts his way in, finding the Durlan's scientists making the new ring for Tharos. Varon claims the ring as his own, but the Unseen attack Varon for his apparent betrayal of them, just in time too, as the Resistance also enter the battle. Now this is what I've been kind of waiting for for just lantern chaos and action, and Adams and his art team do not disappoint. Zermanico's art is just fantastic, and Romulo Fajaro Jr.'s colors just pop right off the page thanks to Zermanico's really dynamic art. Like in some of the previous issues, Adams is sure to put Alan Scott front and center in some sequences, and here he is kind of leading the charge against Varon. It's a neat switch that the Unseeing are now kind of teaming with the Lanterns just on kind of principle. They're just fighting the same enemy, but the minute Alan joins the fray, they want to try and take the Starheart, which is something they've been trying to do for a long time. They want to glimpse the Starheart and try and get access to its power, and Alan manages to unleash the Starheart's power onto them, and in doing so, the Unseen are all obliterated, finally seeing it for the first time ever. During the struggle, Varon claims the new ring and is consumed by a blinding white light, but the Lanterns decide that instead of dealing with him, they're going to go and rescue Kelly and deal with Varon later. It's a good thing too, as Hal messages the team and demands they evac the planet now, as Mogo is on approach and will decimate the entire world. Hal and John, meanwhile, are pursued by Mogo in space near Oa, pushing harder than they ever have before to gain some distance between them and their corrupted friend. Doing so takes them through the Durlan fleet, which can't evacuate in time and is just completely destroyed by Mogo's blast. And I guess that's kind of the end of the Durlan threat, at least for now. That was most of the Durlans that Tharos was commanding. I imagine some are still scattered around, but I guess that kind of takes one of their enemies off the board. I also love that Mogo here is just kind of like a sentient Death Star. Like he looks like a Death Star, like with the logo in the middle and like the big red blast that looks just like a Death Star, or like Starkiller Base. And I think that's really damn cool, and it's really terrifying as well, since Mogo is usually, you know, so chill and just dormant and doesn't really do much, but seeing it just flying through space, blowing up planets and fleets is really scary. Hal and John arrive on Oa just in the nick of time as they watch Sinestro, who also is a Red Lantern right now, arrive above Oa, slamming hard into Mogo's surface, and this is where he uses his superior control over the red power of rage to pull Mogo's power into him and his ring, freeing Mogo from Tharos' control and returning him to a dormant, docile Green Lantern. As the power becomes too much for Sinestro, it's Hal who comes to his rescue, which is really fun that despite all he's done, especially in this series, Hal recognizes the pain Sinestro is in and the revenge he wants, and just wants to help calm him and sort of contain him so they don't have to deal with that threat right now. Everything seems to kind of be winding down, and the Lanterns actually think they have won the day, but Varon, using his new United Planets ring, enters the gathered emotional spectrum energy on the planet, hoping to unlock their secrets and gain even more power. It's here that Kyle Rayner, who up until now has been kind of this crazed guy, he's been, you know, ranting and raving about the emotional spectrum and's kind of been in like a daze, wakes up from that daze and becomes the White Lantern again, blasting out of the crypts and right into the emotional spectrum orb Varon disappeared into. Now doing this leads to Kyle doing the thing he kind of is pretty good at, which is being killed, at least according to Tharos, who has arrived on Oa with his Darkstar ring to seek out revenge against Varon, the Lanterns, and the entire emotional spectrum. There is one final page though that reveals that Kyle is actually alive and well and inside the emotional spectrum with Varon, who's busy absorbing all of the spectrum's energy, and Kyle kind of tells himself that he is there for a reason. This is like his destiny, and I don't think this page should have been here at the end of the issue. It kind of undercuts Kyle's sacrifice. Like, yeah, of course Kyle would come back eventually, he always does, but just showing it in the same issue that he died in, you know, not 2 pages ago, kind of really wasn't the right thing to do. I don't think you could have just put this page at the end of the next issue maybe, just so there's enough time and enough breathing room between his death and, you know, characters can like react to it, and then we learn that he's actually still alive and still working to help save his friends. Green Lantern issue 17 was filled with so much really cool action, and for people like me who've been keeping up with the series, some really satisfying payoffs to long-running stories. So far, all of the ingredients to a fun Green Lantern event are there, and they are combining in all of the right ways that I really enjoy a Green Lantern book for, and it's just making for a great cosmic focused story. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.